Hello, welcome to Melody Joy Quilts. I am your host, Melody Joy. Today, we are going to be making a celebratory pennant banner out of A&M fabric because the Texas A&M Aggies are undefeated football right now, 7-0 record, best record since 1994. My husband is ecstatic because he is an Aggie. He graduated from Texas A&M, and I did not graduate, but I am married into the love for the Aggies, and so we are going to make a celebration banner today. I have this yardage, which has the A&M logos on it, and I have some black accent fabric. I don't have measurements on either of these because they're just from my stash. I have a point turner, a ruler, a rotary cutter, some scissors, and I have a sewing machine. And I have some gray thread in my sewing machine ready to go. So let's make a celebration pennant banner for the undefeated Texas A&M Aggies. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and cut some of our fabric down into squares. I am going to cut 8-inch squares. You can cut your squares any size that you would like them. My squares are going to be 8-inch squares. So I'm going to just remove that and go over to make this easier on myself. I'm going to just start on this 28-inch line on my cutting mat, and then I can just go over to the 20-inch line, and this will give me 8 inches. I graduated from HBU, Houston Baptist University, and they do have a football team, but they not like the Aggies have a football team. And going to games with my husband when he was in college was so fun. It's Texas football is its own. I mean, it's its own thing. It's people get a little crazy. There is chants, there's cheering, there is the Aggies stand the entire game in the student section. I got to experience that when I went to some games with my husband. They are serious about their football. All right, so I'm just going to stack these on top of each other here, and I'm going to trim off just a tiny bit here. So these are 8-inch strips. We're now going to subcut our 8-inch strips down into 8-inch squares. You can make your squares any size you want. This method will work with any size. I am just showing you that I am using 8-inch squares today for what I am trying to do. So again, I'm on the 28-inch line, so I'm going to go down to 20. That will cut it here. So there's a stack of squares. Then I'm going to come down to the 12-inch line, cut again here. This will give me a nice pile of 8-inch squares to work with. Okay. It didn't cut through all the way. I just changed my rotary blade. I think it's because I'm sitting. It's a little bit easier to cut actually if you stand up because you have a better downward motion. But anyway, so now I have some 8-inch squares here. I'm going to use this later, but for right now, we're going to work with these. So this is very simple. All you're going to do is take one of your squares right side up. So there's a wrong side and a right side to your fabric. You want your right side up. You're going to just fold this in half on the diagonal. And all you're going to do is kind of just smooth it with your fingers a little bit. Line that corner up, and we're going to sew down one side. It doesn't matter. You can pick either side. You're just going to start from this kind of squared off corner here and sew down to one of your corners. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay. Take your next one. So this one, because of the way I cut it, it's upside down. I'm going to turn it so the right side is up. I'm going to fold it in half. Just line that up right there. And I'm just going to kind of finger press this a little bit. And then I'm going to start sewing down that one side. You're going to be amazed at how quick and easy this is. Even if you're not, you don't sew that much, if you have a sewing machine, you can do this because there's no fancy stitching and there's no real pattern. You can use any size squares. The bigger your starting squares, the bigger your pennants will be. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just take a couple of these off right now so I can show you what we're going to do next. Okay, So all we're going to do now is it's basically sewn together on one side. We're going to trim a little bit off on this corner just to make it easier to flip out. Don't cut your stitches though. You're going to just reach inside and turn this right side out. This is where you need your little point turner because you can stick it down inside of there and really help to kind of get that corner poking out. I'm going to do that now. Poke out my little corner just as nice as I can. Okay. Oh, a little thread is coming out. Okay. Now, we're going to take it so the seam, this is the part that has the seam, is just going straight up the back. We're going to lay this down. I'm going to kind of finger press this a little, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and iron it now, okay? So I'm bringing my iron over here. So I have basically this seam is lined up with this point to make our little triangle, and all I'm going to do is flatten this out nicely and give it a little press. Okay, now I have seen a tutorial where they left this part on and tucked it in. I thought that was actually a little bit fiddly and I didn't want to do that. So actually what I'm going to do now is you have something that looks like this, okay? I'm actually just going to use that line. I'm going to put the edge of my ruler on it, and I am just going to go ahead and cut that part off. So now we have something that looks like this. Isn't that cute? Okay, so there's one. We are going to make a whole bunch more of these. I have another one already sewn, so let me go ahead and flip this other one out. So again, I'm going to take my little point turner. You don't have to have a point turner. I've made these before without, but it can help just if you're trying to get it looking a little bit better on the end, just to kind of pop that point out a little bit more. Okay, you could do these for anything. I'm doing them for football because we're in football season, and my husband is a huge Aggie fan, so that's what I'm, doing today to celebrate the win over Arkansas yesterday. But you could make these for Christmas. You could make them for birthday parties. I've seen people make these for weddings. So again, now it looks like this, almost like a little ice cream cone or something. But we're just going to trim that top part off to make it level. And then we can save these. The other reason I wanted to cut these off because this is fairly large triangles, and I don't like to waste fabric. And so there is a method where you tuck it inside and you just sew it down like that, but it's kind of wasted because you don't see it and it's not really necessary. So I'm going to save these triangles for something else because I'm sure I'll find a use for it. So there we go. I'm going to make a whole stack of these. I'm just going to snip these apart. And so you can make as many as you want, and you can make them for anything that you want. This method will work for other things besides football. Okay, I am just going to trim my corners a little bit so I can get pointier points on my corners. Again, not cutting my seam, just kind of trimming off a little bit of that excess fabric without cutting my seam. I saw this method first on Sewing Studio for the UK, and they basically said you can use any shape of squares. Like I said, I am using 8-inch squares today. I just thought that would make a nice size. I've made some before with 10 inches and it's kind of big, but I'm actually planning on putting this banner on my mantle. And so for that, I definitely want it to be, I want it to fit. I want it to fit across the mantle. So I see these posts sometimes that say, what's the male equivalent? Like if girls receive flowers, like what's the male equivalent of girls receiving flowers, right? Well, a few weeks ago, I threw my husband a football party and I went to Hobby Lobby and I got a football tablecloth and I went to Dollar Tree and got maroon napkins and I got little plates shaped as footballs. And at first he was like, I don't know why you're going through all this trouble. But then he told me later, he was like, I think that's one of the nicest things you've ever done for me. He was like, I know like you're not as into football as I am, but like the fact that you like planned me a football party and invited a friend over to watch the game with me and like set everything up. He said it really meant a lot to him. So if you have a man in your life, or maybe a girl, and I don't know, if you have someone in your life who loves football, husband, boyfriend, someone else, I don't know, and you want to have a football party for them, do this for their team. I know like our Hobby Lobby has all the Texas teams. We have all the fabric for the Texas teams in our Texas Hobby Lobbies. And so I think you can get, Astros, Houston Texans, they have UT, they have U of H. They've got all the fabric for all the different teams. So you could make one for whoever your loved one follows in sports. I think regionally they sell the fabric per region. Okay, this is turning out so stinking cute. I said this method is so easy. Even if you don't have a lot of sewing experience, I think you could pull this off. I'm gonna save these. I want to save those. So even if you don't have a lot of sewing experience, I think this is pretty simple and straightforward, and you can surprise someone in your life with it. I also think if you made it smaller, like maybe using 4-inch squares, like made like some little ones, you could put it in your office cubicle. Texans, people who live in Texas and their football rivalries. Oh, I realized I didn't even mention Texas Tech. I'm sure there's some Red Raiders that are not happy with me for not even mentioning Texas Tech when I talk about Texas football. But anyway, whatever Texas football team or other state you support, you could make a banner for them. I'm thinking if you made it with little squares, like little 4-inch squares, you could put it in your office. That's what I was thinking, was like putting it in your cubicle, putting it on your office chair or like around your desk or laptop, or I have people who are fans, right? You want to celebrate. So okay. We are almost done. I have 2 left to do. See my little A&M earrings? I actually got these earrings at the Houston Quilt Festival. There was a booth there that was kind of like a boutique, and they had all kinds of cute jewelry. And I got some. I already had Astros earrings, but I didn't have A&M earrings or Texans earrings yet. And so I got both Texans for the Houston Texans and for A&M while we were at the quilt festival, which is a funny place to buy earrings, but they had a booth and the lady was really sweet. I got to meet the lady who made them, and she was so nice. And actually I was looking specifically for A&M ones and digging through her display, and she was like, I know I had some. She's like, I know I have some A&M earrings, and she helped me find them. And then I would look at some of the different options, and I picked these. Some of hers had a lot of glitter and different things, but not something you would normally expect to buy earrings at a quilt show, but I did. So okay, this is my last one here. Just trying to get this point turned out nicely. Okay, all right. So my point turner I also got at that show. Okay, all right. Flatten this out, iron this, and then we're going to move on to step 2. So step 1 would be cutting your squares. Step 2 would be sewing them. Step 3 would be turning them out. I guess step 4 is ironing them. So I guess technically step 5 would be trimming them. So maybe we're on to step 6. I guess it depends on how you count your steps. Okay, so I have a whole little stack of these lovely little pennants. Now I'm going to move on to this black fabric. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and cut this down to 2.5 inches. So let me just line that up right there. Is that lined up right there? checking. This has been in my tote bin. So it's just been thrown in a tote bin. So I'm going to just like trim this up a tiny bit here because it's a little uneven on the edge. I'm going to have to waste a little bit, I think, just to get a good cut here. Okay, so trim that off. I'm saving this. I'm going to move over to 2.5 inches. Okay, and I will go ahead and cut one more time. Let me see, how long is this going to end up being? This might be long enough. Might not be long enough. No, I don't think it is long enough. I'm going to have to cut one more. Okay. This is how I usually work. I don't always have a pattern or a lot of times I work with an idea and I just run with it. And I like to watch a lot of tutorials, and then I like to try the things that I see online. And so you may be asking why I don't have a specific measurement on this. That's just not how my mind always works. I saw a shirt, I think it was Tammy from Hometown Quilt Company had a shirt that says, "I'm creative. You can't also expect me to be neat." And that resonated. Okay, so I'm going to make a longer strip. So what I'm going to do is these don't really have a right or wrong side because they're solid. I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to put the other one on top of it. And then if this was a pair of pants, these are the legs, we're going to sew from hip to hip. So I am just going to sew along here. Then I will just use these scissors to trim this off. And so now essentially what we've done is made this one long strip. I am going to now move on to ironing. So I'm going to take my long strip here, and all I'm going to do now, I'm going to iron that out. I'm going to fold this in half. So I need to fold it, I need to make sure my seam is on the inside. And then I'm going to fold this all in half, and I'm going to iron this. This is going to be our string, basically, is what we're making right now to actually sew our bunting onto. Okay, so I think I've heard this called bunting tape, and apparently you can buy it. I did not purchase any. I was not even planning on making this video today. But my husband is so excited about the Aggies being undefeated that I felt like I had to do something to help him celebrate. So we are making Aggie bunting today. Was not planning on doing this, but you know, I think sewing should be fun, and sewing should be creative, and celebrating milestones is part of life, and it's part of what makes life fun, and sewing should be fun. Okay, so I am just ironing all of this in half. Okay, now I have, like I said, gray thread in my machine, but actually I'm starting to rethink this and thinking that I might switch it out to be black thread in there. Okay, so now I'm going to open this up a little bit, and I'm going to fold this in towards the center that we just ironed towards. So now fold that towards the center. So basically making a double fold tape. Okay, so we folded it once and we sewed, and now we're going to fold this edge towards the center and iron it again. So we're ironing it towards that center line. So I'm folding just the edge over towards that center line. If I had planned ahead, I could have just bought like bias tape or something. I probably could have purchased something, but I'm just making it. I'm just using things from my stash. We're just going with it. So I'm ironing this towards that center fold. If you had purchased some sort of like bias tape, you would basically already be done by now, but I'm just going to work this out. Ironing this towards the center here. Okay, then I've got to turn it around and do the same thing the other way. So now I have to turn it this way and fold this one in towards the center and iron it. Okay, So basically all the raw edges are being folded in towards that center, and I'm ironing that down now. In case you're wondering about how much of an Aggie fan my husband is, I was trying to find his A&M polo shirt the other day, and I pulled out 5 different maroon polo shirts until I found the one he wanted. So his closet mostly is maroon, a lot of maroon, quite a lot. So at any rate, easiest part, and like I said, there are things you can purchase online that are already ready to go, instead of making your own strips. But if you have fabric on hand, you can just jump right into this project. Okay, so now that that is done, the next thing that we are going to do, I think I do want to change my thread. I think I want to change my thread out. If I go ahead and change out my thread. I thought the gray would work, but I'm actually not thrilled with that because it has too much of a contrast with that. I thought it would work, but I think it's just too much contrast. So I'm just going to really quickly rethread my machine with black thread. I'm not as worried about the bobbin being gray because that's going to be on the back side. But for the top stitching, since I'm using black bias tape, I think I will be happier if I do it this way. Okay. You need some little clippies or something to help you at this point. I also think this could be a place where you could glue base. I don't have any glue sticks because I think you could glue base here as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this. I'm going to come down a little bit, and I'm just going to lay this on here, like on that center fold, and then fold this down over it so that this is right in the center here, and then I'm going to fold this down over it, and I'm going to clip. This is where a glue stick might come in handy because you could glue based. I have seen people glue based. I feel like that might work well here. Okay, so essentially what is happening here is this is where we folded both of these sides into the center. So I'm going to take one of these and just lay it on here so that it's kind of next to the other one. Get a little thread out of there. Fold it down. So there should be no raw edges showing because this is the raw edges of our bunting. This is my back seam, and I'm putting that towards the back. I'm going to lay this in here like so. Fold this down. And I'm going to clip all the way along here. Now again, if you had a glue stick, you could glue base. I do have temporary adhesive spray. I could use that, but I don't know. The spray might get a little messy. I'm also just going to fold down these strips here, and because I am going to have to sew this as well, because I have to sew this shut basically. Put a few more clips in here. Okay, so here we go. We're going to come across here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take one of my buntings. The seam is on the back. I'm going to open this up a little bit. I'm going to lay it on here. You can create your spacing however you want. I am basically making mine so that they are essentially almost touching at the points up here. There's not like a big gap there. And I'll remove these clips as I go along later. You can use as many clips as you feel like you need to get this all secured. If you don't have clips, you can also glue based with a glue stick, because you would just put a little glue right here and then lay this on. Fold this over. Okay, we're going to keep moving this down. This is why I switched, because this is gray thread, but it really shows up high contrast more than I thought it would. So I didn't love that. So that's why I switched my machine out to the black thread. Okay, get this in here. Okay, fold that over. Okay, so we've got Reveille, we've got A&M, we've got Kig'em. I got this material at Hobby Lobby, and I've already made my husband a bowl cozy with it, different things, but you know, there's only so many things that men want sewn for them. But pennant banner, I mentioned the idea to my husband, and he was like, yes, do it, make it, please do that. I was like, awesome, let's do it. Okay, sew that down. Okay, you can kind of see right here, this is where the one strip had not been long enough of the black fabric, and I had sewn the second strip on. This is the same method that you would use for creating binding strips for a quilt. So if that didn't look too hard to you, maybe you're already a quilter, or maybe you should be a quilter. Okay, this is looking really good. Okay, I got a couple more to put on here. I keep on going down along here. Okay. Fold this one down. Okay, just make sure it's really in there. And clip. And then again, just making sure that we are really tucked in there nicely. Folding it over, pinning. This is not hard. This part's a little tedious, just making sure that you're in your strip well, but it's not difficult. Okay. These little clips are great. I'm going to put a link in my description to the clips that I use. I just don't like so much using pins, because any pin that you put in can and will try to poke you, and I just don't love that. So the clips do not hurt you, and they're easy to remove. You can use them again and again and again, especially for a project like this. The clips are super easy. Okay. This would also be super cute for a baby. If it's like a baby's first birthday, you can make your own pennant. I want to make a happy birthday banner. It's on my list of things to do. That's a reusable happy birthday banner. So every time it's someone's birthday in our family, we can just pull it out and put it like on their chair in the dining room for their birthday, something like that. But this is going to be coming out every fall now for football, and we may have to find some other A&M projects to do as well. Sewing is fun because you can just make stuff, and it's just fun. Okay, so once we have this clipped, I don't know like how far, I guess I'll just go ahead and sew the whole thing together, but I'll probably trim some of this off later. Now all you have to do is sew this together. We're going to sew everything all at one time. I'm using black thread. I switched it in my machine to black thread because it's matching the black fabric. And so everything is being stitched together all at the same time, because I'm going through both sides of that tape that we made and folded. It's going through my little pennants, and I'm just removing clips as I go. I'm taking my time and going as slow as I need to, trying to be about 1/8 of an inch away from that edge. And it's capturing all the layers. And this is basically the last step. This project is extremely beginner friendly. You only need 2 fabrics. You don't need a lot of fancy tools, and you don't need any fancy stitching. It's very straightforward, and it has such a cute visual impact. I have my stitch length set at a 2.5. I'm using presser foot number 1. It's just a regular presser foot. It's the Bernina number 1 foot, and I am using a straight stitch. So just very simple machine settings. Okay, there we have it. That is our finished project. I can trim these ends off and get this ready to hang on my mantle. And happy sewing, happy quilting, happy crafting. I hope everybody has a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and you think you might make it, give the video a thumbs up. give it a hype, subscribe. I'm always up to something over here. It's not always football related. Most of it is quilting, but I like to sew. I like to have fun. Have a blessed day.